So welcome to episode 6. If you have not seen the last episode, go check it out. I didn't make an episode last week. That was because my throat was sore like all week and I was feeling sick. I didn't even go to like the brigade meetings or the TIFO painting over the weekend either. On today's episode, I will be talking about how Reno 1868 did in the off season, the team's upcoming game against Orange County, and more. Getting into 1868 news, something that was released last week that I want to talk about is the new scarves. There are 3 new scarves that you can pick up at the team shop. These scarves are the City Flag scarf, the Lucha scarf, and the Reno Skyline scarf. Overall, I think they're solid designs with fair pricing. All the scarves have a similar theme to them, which is like Reno Proud kind of thing. I like the City Flag scarf the most, so I'll talk about that one first. It's really simple. On the front of the scarf is the 1868 FC wordmark logo, and with the primary logo on the sides. On the back of the scarf is the design from the City of Reno flag in the middle. The back of the scarf also mirrors the front by having the primary logo on the sides. Yeah, it has really solid color to it, and it isn't overwhelming with its color. Like I have seen other scarves that have the overwhelming color in their design. The spacing on the design is good. It doesn't feel crowded, and there's a nice balance between the negative space and the rest of the design. I like the typography on it, even though it's just the 1868 wordmark logo. As far as scaling and hierarchy goes, there isn't too much hierarchy in the design, and there doesn't need to be either. Typically with scarves, the hierarchy is whatever design is in the middle, followed by the designs on the ends. There is good balance in the design, and it is very symmetrical as both sides of the design mirror each other. I do think that this design does have harmony to it. The Lucha scarf is a little more creative. On the front is the number 775, which is Reno's area code, with the primary logo on the sides like in the other design. The front also has stripes in between the logo and the 775. The back of the scarf has the primary logo in the middle with the Lucha mask on the sides. The mask is split in half, so when the scarf is together, it makes one whole mask. The scarf has good use of color by flipping the primary color on the front and back. Having the mask primary color gold while the primary color of the back of the scarf is blue allows the mask to stand out in the design and be clearly defined. I like the spacing on the scarf. I like how the design eliminates negative space on the front by adding the stripes. There's not too much typography to talk about outside of the area code on the front, which I think is something that, like with the flag design, is something unique to Reno, and when worn could be a symbol of someone's pride in the city. This design has a more clear hierarchy than the city flag scarf, as on the front, the 775 is really dominant because of the way it's framed by the stripes. Then on the back of the mask, the mask is dominant because of the negative space in the design. Like with most scarves, I have to say that there is good balance in the design. I would also say that there is solid harmony in the design as well. I think that designs that are balanced and have good color almost always have harmony. On the front of the city skyline scarf is the Reno skyline with arrows pointing towards it, and the primary logo on the sides. On the back of the scarf, it says Reno 1868 FC using a different font than the wordmark logo, and has the same arrows and placement of the primary logo as on the front. The color design on the scarf is basically flipping the colors on the front and back while keeping the arrows the same color on both sides. That's not too bad, and it is a common thing to do with scarves. The spacing on the scarf is pretty much the same on the front and back. There's not too much negative space as in the other designs. which makes this design more crowded than the others, but I don't think it's overwhelming. As far as typography goes, the choice not to use the word mark logo in favor of just text is a bold choice that might have to do with the usage of space in the area with the word mark logo. The area might have created too much negative space with the word mark logo, or the logo didn't fit. There's no clear hierarchy in the design to me. This is due to not having clear emphasis on any one element. Yes, the middle of the design is larger, but because of the way the arrows frame the primary logo, just as much emphasis is put on the primary logo as the center design. I think that a lot of work went into this design to make it as balanced as possible. This is because of the lack of emphasis in the design and the color flipping and the addition of the arrows. I think this design, like all of these scarf designs, has good harmony to it. Now on to really what's going on the pitch. The team finally posted their current roster on their website. If you haven't seen that, you should go check it out. Some key players to watch out for on defense this season are Zach Carroll and Brent Richards. Those guys were the top defenders last year, in my opinion, so it's good to see them back. Not too much to talk about on the defensive end of things. Moving on to midfield, Lindo and Seth are back, and they're pretty solid. They seem to play very consistently, in my opinion. There's a new face at midfield as well that I think hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but I think he will get people's attention as the season goes on. The person I'm talking about is Raul Mendiola. He came here during the offseason from Las Vegas. He had 10 goals in 22 games last year, which isn't bad. That's pretty much a goal every other game almost. He's either going to take over where Hopino left off or be that number one striker / finisher that we didn't have last year, that we had our first year with Dane Kelly, that we were missing last year. But I think he's going to end up turning into a great finisher. I don't really think he's going to take over where Hopino left off. Anyway, moving on to forwards now. Brian Brown is back. I've been talking about him on the podcast lately. He has been playing well in the preseason, as far as I can tell he has anyway. Now that Hopino is gone, I think there is more of a leadership responsibility on his shoulders. I think if the team is going to be successful, he will have to step up into a more leadership role on the field than he has done in the past. And I don't know how he's going to handle that necessarily. Danny Muvovsky is the other forward I'm going to talk about today. He's been getting a lot of press, and I think that's because the guys over at 1868 Weekly really like him. Because of that, I think people want him to step into that number one striker / finisher position. However, I think he plays with a similar style to Hopino. That style being that he can take it into the box but might look for the pass before looking for a goal. So I think he's more going to fit into a role like Brian Brown, where his job is to create space and scoring opportunities for other players. I really think that he's going to take over basically where Hopino left off. Looking at goalies, San Jose has not officially sent anyone to Reno yet as far as a goaltender is concerned. The goaltending issue in San Jose is the only real positive they have right now. They have 4 really solid, good goalies, and so right now it's a question of who's most likely to come to Reno. There are only 2 options really for this too, which is Matt or JT. I think it will be Matt day one. Moving forward, we will see who rises to be our number one goalie. But the reason I think that it will be Matt is because San Jose really wants him to be their number 2 goalie, from what I think. If Matt has a good start, then San Jose will bring him up. Looking at JT, I think that San Jose is comfortable with continuing to develop his talent and not really rush to put him in that number 2 spot necessarily. So I don't think there's any rush to move him up. I do think that they will both be in Reno this weekend, and we won't have an answer until game day either, so we got that going for him. I really do think, though, that that San Jose wants JT to be their number 1 goalie in the future, and I think that that's why they're more concerned about developing him than anything else. So how did the team do during preseason? Well, they did all right. They did average. I put down average on my notes. They didn't come out in dominant games, except for that San Jose game, nor were they blown out in games. A lot of positives, but a lot of negatives to take away from preseason as well. I think they did really well playing against San Jose. I think that gave a lot of people, including myself, hope for a good first part of the season. But then they started to slow down as preseason continued. If preseason is an indicator, we will be playing slightly below how well we played last year. And last year we did pretty well, almost making it to the Western Conference Finals. I personally would put more into the Week 1 result, though, than into all of the preseason results. I think that the result we get this week is going to really determine how well we do in the beginning of our season. That being said, Reno 1868 will be playing Orange County SC this Saturday, March 9th at 5:45 p.m. at Greater Nevada Field. It's an early game. It's probably scheduled that way due to weather or the possibility that weather could be coming. They scheduled this months ago, but that's basically why I think that they scheduled it like that. They're giving away schedule cozies, which are interesting because basically with a cozy, you put like your beer in it or your soda or whatever inside of it, and it'll keep it cold or whatever, and then they put the schedule on that, which is interesting. This match will be a rematch of the game that knocked Reno out of the playoffs last season. But both teams are different now than they were at that point. Both teams lost players, both teams gained players, so it's a totally different field out there. But I think Reno can win this. Reno has solid defense and goaltending and can make it hard for Orange County to score. Yeah, I don't think Orange County has a particularly outstanding offense. I think we have a better defense than Orange County has an offense. That being said, all the pressure at this point is basically put on the offense. It'll be interesting to see who steps up in this game to make sure that Reno can take the lead. If Brian Brown plays the way he did against San Jose, our offense will be unstoppable. If he isn't able to play that way, then Reno will have a hard time scoring. I think in this season, the way Brian Brown plays will affect our entire offense every single game. So if he shows up for a game, the whole offense is going to be there and the whole offense is going to do really good. If he doesn't show up for a game, the whole offense kind of won't show up. He's more or less like a point guard would be in basketball. He really is going to, I think, in my opinion, control the offense, and how well he plays will determine how well the rest of our offense plays in any particular game. That being said, I think the players to watch out for in this game are, of course, for Reno, of course, Brian Brown, Danny Muzovsky, Raul Mendiola, and whoever is in net, whether that be JT or Matt. It'll be interesting to see how they do. For Orange County, the roster isn't up to date yet, or the roster isn't up to date online yet, so it's hard for me to pinpoint any specific player, but watch for whoever steps up on offense and watch their back line to see how well they work against Reno's offense. I know in the last match, Reno's offense struggled to get anything past Orange County's back line. The last match, of course, being that playoff match that they played each other. The last time Orange County was in Reno, their back line struggled to keep up with our front line, so that's at least a positive you could take away from the end of last season is, hey, look, they didn't do really well against our offense here in Reno, so we'll see what happens, obviously, Sunday or Saturday. We'll see what happens Saturday. I think that we're going to win that one, though. The discount code GOAT still works. That's GOAT, all caps. This code is only good for this game, this upcoming game on Saturday. And it is roughly $10 off regular pricing for midfield and inline seats. Moving on to other team news now. Nevada Coyotes FC, their last game against Reading, which was supposed to be here in Reno, had to be rescheduled due to weather over the pass. That game will be played at a later date. That is not determined yet. They have another game upcoming this weekend against Vacaville. Hopefully that game doesn't get postponed due to weather. That's another home game. So both the Coyotes and 1868 will be in action this weekend. It will be interesting to see when they finally get to play, as the Coyotes have postponed or canceled every game up here basically up to this point. I don't even know if they've played a game yet this year. So, and then lastly, the indoor team. My indoor team is done for now. Obviously, we weren't able to get in this season. Put on that waiting list, weren't able to get in. But now we have to wait to see what happens in the future, because there might not be any interest in the team anymore. And I know, like, our captain, I know she wanted to no longer be captain or move the responsibilities to somebody else. So things are going on with that team. The future of that team is really uncertain at this point. Anyway, thank you for listening to the All for Our City podcast. For more on this podcast, check out zachelectrify.wordpress.com or find it on YouTube and SoundCloud.